Hey guys, my name is Tim and I'm the master mechanic at Zeiten BMW Mobile Services. Today we have a 2003 BMW X5 E53 with the 3.0 liter engine. And what are we going to do today is replace the rear rotors and the rear pads. So without further ado, let's get to it. The difference from replacing the front rotors would be I'm not going to be jacking the whole car. You probably seen it in the previous video. In the front I jacked the whole front of the car. Here I'll just go one by one, because even though it's all-wheel drive, it's just with BMWs, for me, I don't know, it's a habit to do the back one by one. So we'll start with the rear passenger wheel, or right side, whichever you prefer. This is the side where we have the brake pad wear sensor, so we're just going to be showing you this side, and the other side is exactly the same, just without the sensor. So the jacking point is right here. You will see the pad in there. It's pretty close to the end of the side skirt, basically, and just we'll just go enough. Of course, before jacking the car up, I forgot to mention, loosen your bolts on your wheels. I already did that. Use this big breaker bar. It's a 19 millimeter till 2003. So this is the last year where the BMW used the 19 millimeter bolts for the wheels. After that, in 2004, the same X5 would have already 17 millimeter. First thing we're gonna do is remove the spring. So what you want to do is just take a regular flathead screwdriver, put it between the spring and the rotor, so push just like that and take it out. There you go. So the whole thing comes out. Put it aside, and then, since we're replacing the rotors in here, I'm just gonna put my screwdriver right against the rotor, so we compress the caliper entirely. Even though you can see that the pads still have 50% of life, we're just doing it for the rotors basically, and for the video, of course, for you guys. So now we're gonna be removing those little caps right here. So they just like that, one on top. The other one is at the bottom, right here. We have our 7 millimeter bolts right there, basically the pins where the caliper slides in and out. For the top one, we can use basically the regular ratchet. It's gonna be enough. For the bottom one, I recommend you using the just regular 7 millimeter Allen, because it's not enough room in there since we have the shock on the way. And since they are a bit tight, I'm going to be using just this extension, 1 feet extension, and regular 7 millimeter. It's going to take a little bit of time, but be patient. Once you basically removed all the tension, you can use the regular 7 millimeter Allen socket, and the process will go faster. All right. Both pins are out. You don't have to remove them, but you can. Then I would take this cap from the bleeding screw and free up the sensor a little bit. Now we can remove the caliper. As you can see, there is approximately 50% left of the pad. Compress the caliper. You can do it by hands, or you can use the, it depends on how stuck your caliper is. You can use the regular clamp. I'll show you in a second. So we're gonna be just using this clamp right here. Makes it nice and easy. Sometimes you can compress it by hand, but sometimes you can't. Oh, actually, this is the end. So this is it. Before removing the pad, I will remove the sensor. Even though the sensor is intact, I'm going to be replacing it anyways. Doesn't make sense not to do it. As you can see here, the pins. I'm going to remove those as well, just to lubricate them. It's been a while. And we'll just put the caliper aside, right here. Next thing we're going to do is remove this two 16mm bolts. I'm going to be using a big breaker bar to do so. There we go. There goes one. And here's the top one. The top seems to be not 16. It is 16. And we remove the bracket. So the next thing over here, next step is removing the rotor holding basically bolt. It's a 6mm. We're going to be using just a regular 6mm socket. There you go. So the rotor might be really stuck, but first thing first, before you try to hammer it out, which we will, make sure your parking brake is released fully, because right here inside the rotor there is a parking pads. So if your parking brake is not released, it's gonna hold the rotor. Also, the other thing you can do is just spray WD-40 into the spots where the wheel bolts go, also around here and where the holding bolt for the rotor stays in. So you can spray it all out, but other than that, I have this small but pretty heavy hammer. It's a 3-pound hammer, so it's a short handle and pretty much heavy head. This will allow me to hammer it out pretty easily, it should be. As you can see, it didn't take much with this hammer, but if you have a smaller one or not heavy enough, you can take forever to remove this rotor, and it might even feel like something else holding it. Nothing does. It's just heavy stuck in. This is the only, basically this is the only spot where it's bolted on. Everything else just rust, and that's it. And here you can see your brake pads for the parking brake right here. Nothing happens to those, don't touch them. For this job, we're going to be using the Freemax rotors. We use them a lot. Like most of the time we use Freemax. It's a really good product. I believe it's made in Germany, but that might not be entirely true. So you can check me on that. But we use them a lot. Never had any issues with those. And Zimmermann is good. The Freemax is good. Those are good rotors. That's I can recommend for sure. So, and for the pads, it's going to be ATE original. You can find the branding of the ATE on the back of the caliper and also on the bracket. So this is who manufactured this braking system for the BMW X5 E53. So it's the most original thing you can install on there. BMW pads would be ATE pads. Before installing the rotor, just clean them up. You can see there is a lubrication of some sort, so clean it up and then install it. So the rotor is in place. Now we're ready to install the bracket back in place. It's a 16mm bolts. Just fit one in and the other one. Okay. Now they're both in place. Before installing the pads back, I'm gonna lubricate the back of the pad as well as the pins. It's not absolutely necessary at all. In fact, you might believe that it makes your brake pads quieter, but unless the braking side is quiet, nothing you can do on the back that will make the brake pads quiet. If they squeaky, if they noisy, that's just because of this, not because they're not lubricated or anything like that. But it doesn't hurt anyways, it doesn't make it worse. So we'll start, and you just need to add a little bit on each pad. I'll start with those. So we'll just put it on. Very thin layer of lubrication, nothing too crazy, just a bit. And from there, what are we gonna do next? I'll put the one pad in place. And before we do the other one, I have the new sensor right here. We'll take the caliper, put the sensor through, just like that, and put the sensor into the caliper, just like that. And then we insert the pad into the caliper. Just push it, and this is it. Make sure everything's tight, and there you go. Now it's time to basically We can lubricate the pins. Same applies, just a little bit. Lubricate it and put it back in place. Don't overdo it, just a tiny amount will suffice. And now we're ready to basically tighten them in. You can start with either top or bottom, doesn't really matter. And this is the regular 7mm Allen for the bottom part. I think it's the best to use. And with the little extension, don't go nuts. This is enough. And the top we can do with the regular ratchet. That's it. And now we can install back the spring. So the way you're gonna do it is put the bottom right here. So we'll put one side in, just like that. And then this side goes right there. You just hold it against this bracket and just push in. This is it. The caliper is right in place. Don't forget your caps for the pins in the back of the caliper. And the only thing left to do is route this new sensor exactly the way the old one went. So let's get to that. So I'm going to be using the regular pick tool. There's two locking spots right here, so we're going to remove this plastic part from this side. You can see, don't break it, just go really gentle on it. And then it opens up. That's the first spot. Then the next one is deep inside, right here. I don't know if you can see it, right over there. I'm trying to point it out, but it's right here, and you just take it out of the spot. And this is it. So, and the next spot is very visible. It's right here. So just pull forward, basically on both sides of it. We can also use the pick tool, insert here, and press it against the metal. There we go. And we have this box, the usual box where the connection sits. So just remove it from here, push and release. It might be really stuck, but this is just that quite simple. And then the new sensor, this is where it goes. We'll start with the going around the shock, so going all the way to the back, connecting it right here. It only can go one way, so it's not gonna lock this way. So just turn it, and there we go. You hear the click, it's in. Then put this in place, and from there, what are we gonna do? Let's install it right here. Then through this passage, lock it in place, and to all the regular, and I'd say the usual spots. Just push it in. All done. Both sides are done. The other side is exactly the same. It just doesn't have the brake pad wear sensor in it. So after we completed everything, don't forget to tighten your wheel bolts, lug nuts, whatever you want to call them, with the breaker bar, so you don't lose your wheel when you're driving. After everything's complete, all we need to do is, you can start the car or not start the car, just pump the brakes. This is the way you do it. I'm not starting the car, so just regular, all the way down and back, and do it multiple times. It's gonna feel hard all the time. Now, just to make sure, I'll start the car, and I'm gonna do it again. This sets the calipers to the position where they're supposed to be, and we're all done. The BMW X5 E53 doesn't have the service intervals for the brake pad replacement. So if you have the brake light on and when you replaced everything it doesn't go away, just drive a little bit. It will go away, most likely. That's how it is. We did, basically for this car, we did the whole brake job, front and back. It doesn't matter if you're doing just front or just back, brake pads and rotors. It's best to, after replacement of those components, just give it a little bit of time to adjust, basically, and make maybe a few harsh stops in the secure location, just to make sure the brake pads bedded properly. And thank you guys for watching. Don't break your cars. See you in the next one.